Hello, everybody. Gary Williams here, reaching out as usual to friends and colleagues all over the world to see how we are coping in these crazy times. And I'm so excited. I'm so happy that Christina Bianco is waiting there patiently. Hello, Christina.
Hi there. Happy to see you, Gary.
Happy to
My
see
dog
you.
over here is climbing on top of me. He's very happy to see you as
Oh,
well.
he's there. Did you say his name's Jeff?
His name is Jeff Vader, because I'm an obsessive Eddie Izzard fan. And when my husband and I got little Jeff, he was pitch black. He was all black, so he was little Darth Vader. Of course, he very quickly turned gray, but we couldn't change his name, and we wouldn't. So, yeah, little Jeff Vader. You can follow him on Instagram, Jeff Vader NYC.
I was looking just quickly through your social media stuff, and one of the things I've been talking to people about is all those performers. Of course, it's been such a great leveler, this virus, because suddenly we've gone from, I'm over here, I'm over there, I've got this, I've got that, oh, I'm so busy, to everybody's got nothing, right? It's all gone. But I noticed on your website, you I don't know if you've done this as a result of the virus, but you're sort of advertising stuff that you can do online for people, whether it's teaching or doing voices. So yeah. I'm guessing that, hopefully you're one of the few people in our business that's got a bit of an income stream going for other things that don't require you to leave the house.
Well, it's not it's not lucrative, but yes, I have options, which is really nice. I think a lot of people, well, first of all, people feel compelled to put performance or artistic content out on the web and all the social media apps that have never done it before. So for me, I have a little bit of a leg up because I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Maybe not using all microphones and with the best quality, but I'm not new to filming something, editing something, putting it out, and having people be like, oh, there it is. I don't have to fight to be seen in that way, which is great. Right. But those things, that they don't pay, we do that because we love them. So yeah, it's nice. I've been able to work with I'm thinking of two great programs. The first one is Boom Masterclasses. They're group masterclasses. That way people that group instantly makes it more affordable than a one-on-one session. So it's a little more affordable, and it's for people that want to observe as well as have questions answered and learn. And then the other one is Artists and Beyond, and that's private coaching, and that's just one-on-one via Zoom like this. And it's been really nice. It's been really nice. My very first private coaching was this sweet 13-year-old girl in Scotland. Wow. And that was incredible too. I was sort of like, Scotland, because I travel so much, and it does open that in general, just being someone who has been fortunate enough to travel and make acquaintances and be a part of programs both domestically and internationally. It's opened up more opportunities for me now as well. So all that globetrotting, it's not just fun, but it's also, it pays off.
Those people that aren't familiar with what you do, you call yourself a singer, but you are a singer sort of plus. You're sort of singer plus, aren't you? Because what you're really known for is doing your voices, and you do incredible impressions of divas. That's your shtick, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's something I never expected. I mean, the fact that I'm known for doing impressions is still something I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe that really transpired, because I just grew up as a performer doing when you were a child, the main outlet is theater, musical theater, particularly when I was growing up in the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, when I was old enough to get up and do something. I was only doing theater. And nowadays, even kids have so many more opportunities. They can just even sing along with an app. And we didn't have that back then. So I became this theater kid, but I always loved all different styles and genres of music. And so I was working as a singer, even when I wasn't in theater. I was able to work, singing with jazz trios and singing with bands and doing demos and some voiceover work.
But what is it that when you're doing this online teaching now, are you teaching how to sing, or are you teaching how to do voices or general performance? What are you doing?
The main thing with the private coaching for Artists and Beyond, everybody there pretty much offers what we call, song performance, because you only have either a half hour or an hour together, really. And particularly if you've never worked with the person before, it's not a lot of time to get to know their range, what they can do. So we like to focus on one song or one acting piece or one song, a performance piece, and you coach them through it. Some of it's going to be vocal, some of it's going to be acting and presentation and putting it all together. So that's fun. Because it makes it easier than tell me about yourself. Are you an outgoing person or are you a shy person? You have no time for that. What does this song say, or what does this text say? So then you have to figure out the best way for that individual to present it. So that's what I do. That's part of what I do on Artists and Beyond private coachings. The other thing I offer is help with impressions as they are character voices, because I can't sit here and say I can teach you how to do the perfect Liza Minelli impression. I don't know your ability. I don't know that I can do that. But if somebody really wants to work on something and they say, I desperately want to do Liza Minelli, I have no idea if I'm doing it right, I can do my best to get them
And since you
to do
mentioned
that.
Liza Minelli, could you just give us a quick flavor?
Well, sure. You know what I could do is I could continue talking to you, Miss Liza. But watch out for the aspirated cheese. Indeed, I don't have a pop filter on this microphone, okay? It's ridiculous. Well, and the other thing is it's not just about the impressions, because so many people love to do crazy voices, and a lot of them, I'm going back into myself, a lot of people know that they can do a funny voice, but they don't know what to do with it. So I also say I'll help you work on character voices, just how to have more flexibility and to find a character voice that is within what you naturally have. If a lot of people impersonate their family members, I impersonate my dad like this, I impersonate my mother like this, they can take those voices and make a fun new character with them. Or I could say, who that actually sounds like? That actually sounds a bit like this celebrity. Have you ever tried doing that impression? So it's also for people that just have this free time now that want to play with voices. Because I know so many people I've met have said, oh, I love impressions. I wish I could do them. And it's amazing. You may have an impression or two in you. I feel like everybody's got at least one.
But when I've seen you perform, I first saw you in Edinburgh, which is when we last talked. And then the last time I saw you perform was in London. And what always is so striking about seeing you work is that the voices you do are fantastic and they're so accurate. But if you took away the impressions, which is I love because they're so funny and so entertaining, but if you took those away, you have an amazing voice. I mean, you have an amazing facility as a singer to impersonate these divas, and they are divas with these big and wide-ranging voices, and to do them so well. I mean, when you trained, and I assume you trained as a singer, did you have really good rigorous training, or are you one of those people that kind of just is lucky and it just all is in the right place and you can just do it?
I will be very honest and say it's a bit of both. There are a few things that I will say that I was naturally sort of born with. I was born with a very strong voice with a pretty darn wide range. So I didn't have to work too hard. My soprano was always my weakest thing. And to this day, I still would be like, oh, please give me a lyrical soprano ballad. They're my weak spot. High coloratura soprano could actually do much more easily than that lyric soprano stuff in the middle. The Rodgers and Hammerstein ingenues, it's like a death sentence to my voice. I can pull it off, but it's not quite right. And all the practice in the world will not make me sound comfortable and perfect doing that. So I worked on that with a lot of voice teachers. My parents heard me singing, in the backseat of a car before I could even form full sentences. And they're like, well, she's hitting pitch. Like she can hold, she's finding the pitch. And then they heard I had a vibrato in my voice, the shake in my voice. And they were so good. They fostered that and encouraged that. So I was in voice lessons. When you were like
7 years old, she's like, oh my God, she's doing Barbra Streisand.
Oh, no, but see, that's the funny thing. And gosh, I have so many, I'm Italian, so I have all these thoughts going and I want to talk about all of them all at once. So give me a second, but yeah, I'll get to that. But what I was going to say was that, I always had some training, but I also always had an ability. The mimicry was something that I innately had. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know it was an impression. I never ran in the room and went, Ma, hey, Ma, here's my Judy Garland. I never did that. But my mother did hear me singing along to The Wizard of Oz. And every like third time I'd sing along, because I watched the movie incessantly, she would hear me, as she says, sort of take on the tone and the style of Judy Garland singing that song. She told me I did the same thing when I was listening to Dolly Parton or even McIntyre with the country twang, so it wasn't just impersonating the genre, but she would hear me try to like change the sound of my voice, make it more rounded for Judy and make it more nasal for so-and-so, and she would hear me do this. And I remember my mom saying to me, like, honey, don't sing it like the recording, sing it like you. But I just thought she meant don't copy what they're doing with their runs or their phrasing or something, So It wasn't until I got older that I realized that I could change my voice like that easily and that it was an asset. Even just, impressions. Again, who thought you could have a career doing impressions? The only people I ever saw doing impressions were stand-up comedians, really, people on Saturday Night Live or something. It was very rare that you heard a singer do an impression, or let alone in a way that you thought you could actually make a living doing it. The first time I remember, and I'm going on a tangent now, but the first time I remember hearing one person do multiple impressions, like back to back, that was singing, was Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah.
because he always did that. He always impersonated the fellow members of the Rat Pack and all the other contemporaries that were around singing. And it blew me away, even as a kid. I was like, is that we still listening to Sammy Davis Jr.? Did he just? My father said, no, he's changing his voice to sound like these other people. He's doing an impression. So I remember that. I remember watching like the Tracy Ullman show when I was young and barely getting any of it, but being like, this woman is amazing. Like, how did she do this? And the real thing that made me realize I could do a few impressions. Again, not quite owning it, but having the awareness that I could change my voice to sound like other people, was singing along to the Forbidden Broadway soundtracks. And we've talked about this before, you and I, but for the listeners who don't know, Forbidden Broadway was a long running show in New York City.
The thought of it makes me laugh.
Yeah. So it's this huge cult following. It spoofs and parodies all the Broadway shows and their stars. And that show was on before I was born. And then I got to be in it right before they took their first big long break. They officially closed for a little while.
I mean, if there was ever a role like a show,
and I had no idea. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Because there were 2 men and 2 women, and they essentially play every single role on Broadway at the time, and also some famous celebrities who are known for work like Barbra Streisand or Liza Minelli. Even if they're not currently on Broadway, you can be sure that Gerard Alessandrini, the writer, was going to put something in the show with them. And so I went to see that show as a kid. I listened to all the cast albums, and I would sing along to the cast albums, essentially impersonating the impersonators. Like, I'm pretty sure my Liza Minnelli is Christine Petty doing Liza Minnelli. And I'm going to own up to that because that was my childhood influence. And she knows that. I told her, I was like, I'm pretty much doing you. Doing Liza Minnelli.
Have you met Liza herself? Does she know what you do, or any of the other people that you love?
I've not met Liza Minnelli. I did see her in an elevator once, but I held it together. But I, the person that I met in the story I like telling the most is Kristin Chenoweth. Big Broadway star, Tony Award winner, Emmy Award winner.
And of course, she's very well known for being, Glinda in Wicked. And she has the speaking voice that sounds like she's on helium.
But then she has that huge, glorious, soaring soprano. So for an impression, it's it's a challenge to do her. But it's also really fun. And she was one of the first impressions I did in Forbidden Broadway. And on the cast album, I'm doing a number performing as her, which, by the way, I hate. I listened to it today. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. How did they put me in a recording studio? That sounds nothing like Kristin Chenoweth. Because it was the first time I was trying it.
You're like, let me do it again. Let me do it again.
No, I know. Now I'm like, please. But I digress. But I was performing at an event. It was an honor. It was a charity event. It was honoring somebody. And Kristen and I were both performing in New York. And they wanted me to do, of course, a diva mashup, as I call it. A bunch of celebrity divas singing one song. And I believe the song was Part of Your World. And I was asking the producers of the event, okay, so these are the people I was thinking of including, and Kristin Chenoweth. So actually, since Kristen's going to be there, maybe you don't want to impersonate her, just in case it ruffles her feathers, or it just makes her anxious, or she takes it the wrong way. Now, I know from mutual friends that we have that she is very, very much a good sport and loves my impression. But still, I was listening to the people that hired me to be there, and I said, absolutely, don't worry about it. I won't put Kristen in. So I did the number, show is over, and I'm just absolutely, want to meet Kristen and tell her how much I adore her and how she inspires me. And she sees me from across the room, and she walks over to me. She's like this, we're the same height, but she's like this big. You can't see me, but she's like as thin as my finger. This little thing walks up to me, and she goes, hey, and she grabs me by the shoulder. You didn't do me. Why didn't you do me? Next time you do me, you show all these people what we've got. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It was the best reprimanding I ever received in my life. But.
What were you going to tell me about Streisand and your voice for Streisand? Or you was a kid. I said, did they hear you singing Streisand? There was some Streisand reference.
Oh, yeah. Well, for Barbra Streisand, for me, it was because when the first Barbra Streisand I knew was my parents listening to her. And that was the more old school, not old school, that was the more contemporary, I call it Streisand, the one who's softer when she sings and has those dulcet tones, and she's very delicate in the way she sings, and it's softer. And all of a sudden, as I got older, I loved watching all the musical movies, so I saw Hello Dolly, I saw Funny Girl, but then because of YouTube, I got to watch all these old performances of her. And I couldn't believe what a different performer she was. So I always say there are two Barbra Streisands you can impersonate. You can impersonate the really big, brassy, huge, belty Barbra Streisand, or you can impersonate the sort of older, more lugubrious, a little more indulgent Barbra Streisand, and that's the one that I can impersonate. So even with impressions, there are only certain versions I can do.
You're so, I mean, you're so busy, and you're bursting with all of this creativity. What with this lockdown situation? I mean, seriously, is it driving you crazy? How are you coping with not getting out there, doing the gigs, and being restricted?
Well, with all due respect, this interview was timed in my calendar today between like two other, a live stream that I'm guesting in, filming 3 videos, promoting somebody's a masterclass or an event. I have been inundated in a lovely way with lots of requests to do these things, fundraisers, charities, events, all wonderful causes, all things I want to do. But I've been so busy doing them that this house is a mess. So it's not okay. It's actually not okay anymore, because now I'm like, I cannot come out of this lockdown with a filthy, uncleaned house and having still not done my taxes.
And poor
So
Jeff.
I have to,
Who's
I
taking
actually
care of Jeff?
Jeff, no, my husband is here in this little studio apartment with me, but he actually is still working about 4 days a week. He works at a medical veterinary clinic, so it's his job is deemed essential here. So he works a few days a week, and I haven't been home in New York because I do so much traveling, performing, very luckily. But I haven't been home in New York for over 2 weeks in a row in about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. So this has been great, just being home and having time with my dog, who sometimes drives me crazy and definitely has made appearances, whether he was supposed to or not, in lots of my videos and posts, even just audible, just barking in the background. But that's what it is. So it's lovely though.
Time at home, isn't it? It's just getting to spend time at home, with your husband and with Jeff. That is one of the benefits, isn't it? One of the plus things.
It is. I've said that. I said, amidst all this tragedy, you do have to look for the good and the positives in every day. Otherwise, how are we going to get through each day? Mm-hmm. Everyone keeps asking me about future events and when are you doing this? And are you worried about this? And I was like, listen, the way I'm coping is taking it day by day, filling my little calendar with things. And sometimes that calendar says, watch Killing Eve. Because it's like, you need some downtime. You need something. If I don't, I do get antsy. I am that person that's like, well, I was sitting down watching something for 20 minutes. What do I do now? I am that person, but I love cooking and baking, and I don't get to do it very often because I'm always traveling or in hotel rooms. Or I was in Paris for 5 months and I had an electric stove. I had no idea what to do with. I was like, I have this whole kitchen and I can't even get a flame. Like, I was so angry. So what I've been doing is cooking up a storm. Because it's the best way to sort of relax me. It's kind of like a therapy. It keeps me busy. We also have got to eat, and I'm Italian, so we don't mess around. But it's something that is like at 5, 6 o'clock every day. It's 6 o'clock typically. I'm like, and work goes away, and I'm going to make a nice dinner or something like that. And that's so necessary and such a gift, because I don't usually get the opportunity.
What's on the menu tonight?
I think I'm going to do either I'm going to ask my husband what he wants, either a pork tenderloin in the oven with some mashed potatoes and some grilled pineapple. We live in a studio apartment in Manhattan, so the grill is a grill pan. We have to do that. I don't have an outdoor grill. So it's either pork tenderloin or it's an orecchietti pasta with with porcini mushrooms and some pancetta. We are not vegetarians. There's always some,
you sound like the perfect person to be on lockdown with. If this happens again, I'm going to make sure I'm knocking on your door just before the lockdown happens.
That's great. But it's not ideal for everybody to hear me belting out like "Don't Rain on My Parade" as Celine Dion.
I could deal with
at 7 p.m. So I'm hopefully not getting kicked out of the building.
And just before you go, would you mind just if Celine Dion was with you now, how might she say goodbye?
Well, I think Celine would have to say this has been a beautiful chat, and I'm so grateful for the time we have shared together. And always remember, near, far, wherever you are, I believe that my heart will go on. No.
Oh, Christina, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us. And
Oh,
take
thanks for
care and
asking.
stay well. And hopefully, I will see when we're all out of this. I will come and see you perform again somewhere fantastic, and we'll have a great time.
Yes, all of my UK gigs are going to be rescheduled, hopefully for the fall. But I'm coming back soon, so keep an eye on ChristinaBianco.com for all that information.
Fantastic. Lots of love. Bye bye.
Thank you, Gary. Bye.